As a responsible person with growing concerns for your privacy and personal liberty, you want to know where we're headed and what you can do about it. We ask the experts what you need to do to take prudent and responsible action to safeguard your family's wealth and well-being, and what basic first steps will help you to be aware and prepared. ReluctantPreppers.com.
There is no way, none, that the actions of the world central banks can go on without a consequence. And this consequence, one of their own making, is, again, going to be epic.
For people who have seen that and believed that for several years now and have been taking some modest steps to either acquire precious metals or stockpile some non-perishable food, or to try to make their families less dependent, it can seem, because the scenario is just continuing to play out and play out and play out, kind of like a slow motion train wreck. It can seem to people that, maybe they were sort of foolish to build the ark after all because it hasn't started raining yet. What would you say to people to encourage them to stay the course and to not waver in their resolution to keep their families safe, but to continue to make those kind of preparations?
I would say this: just keep your eyes open. I believe people listening to this broadcast here, or my work, and a lot of other guys out there, they understand where this is going. I have been saying for a very long time, we're witnessing not just this whole slow motion train wreck going on here, but a natural selection. People who will have the best chance to survive what is coming can see a little further down the road than maybe their neighbor can here. And again, the order of natural selection occur. This is something that's been written about at length. But we're seeing this again in the human population as well. This debt bubble has forced or caused a human bubble as well. Something I wrote about. I wrote an article, Global Debt in the Human Bubble, which goes over this basically. And this natural selection is basically going to choose through natural selection who will have the best chance of surviving when this comes down, because that's how bad this will be. This will be biblical.
What basic principles do you recommend people consider when trying to do prudent things and responsible things in the face of that uncertain future that's coming?
Well, I look at things, from several perspectives, but my expertise is in the financial world here. So I look at things from that perspective: how to save your wealth, how to gain from this, because again, where there is there's opportunity here, and this is what the world central banks, in collusion with our policymakers and the Wall Street banks, are setting up for. Again, they realize clearly what is coming. The military-industrial complex has been put in motion a long time ago, and right here in the United States, it's very easy to see how they're preparing for it. We are one nation under surveillance. We are being watched. The police are being militarized. Why? Why are they doing this? You have to sit back and ask those questions. And it should be very evident to people that they clearly understand where this is going. Look, there's no way out of it. I think about it constantly, morning and night. The issue is so monumental and so monstrous right now. The financial Frankenstein that has been created is going to swallow the earth in many, many ways, and unfortunately take millions of people with it. So, people just need to understand that the principles that have been put forward here are such at this point that there is no way to stop it. We have hit that critical mass. And again, just look here right in the United States. These riots that we've been seeing, this is a resource issue. That's what this whole debt problem comes down to, a resource problem. We have pulled cash from the future to sustain a better now. And when those resources become not available, when the free market determines the debt, the value of debt, and we cannot borrow that anymore, those basic resources will not be available. It's a very simple scenario. We're already seeing what's happening in the debt market with yields trying to push higher. They will at one point, and then you will see massive amounts of pressure on the stock market. Stock market will sell off rapidly. Well, and all of the cash leaving those markets is simply going to look for places to go, and it's going to go into suppressed assets. It's that simple.
And do you have any personal opinion about the duration of the period of troubles that will follow that bubble bursting of the debt bubble, and what would be a likely or a possible recovery path after that period of time?
Well, I can say this. Once this occurs here, and I think this is why they've inflated this hyper bubble with regard to the U.S. stock market right now. We're twice the size of the bubble of 2008,
right,
in the dot-com bubble. The U.S. equity market will not recover probably for decades upon decades. It won't be like the last time where the Federal Reserve has managed to reinflate this equity bubble here, because it's not just going to be a loss in confidence in the stock market. It's going to be a loss in confidence in the system itself. The system itself is failing. And a new system will come out of it, but it will be a long recovery. The way of life for people is going to change so dramatically globally that I don't think most people have even the slightest idea or clue as to how bad it's going to actually be.
In that kind of a scenario, it sounds like people who've got a few weeks or maybe even a month or two of foodstuffs and that sort of thing, and are living in an urban or suburban environment, are still going to have a long road after that before things get back to any semblance of where people can have normal lives, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely. Well, think about it this way. What's going to end up happening here is, again, this issue like you saw in Baltimore, the United States and the world is going to become Baltimore. There's going to have people in the streets rioting, people in the streets trying to survive. And that's where the police state is going to come in. That's what they're prepared for here. And that's where they're trying to take our guns. They understand where this is going. They want to disarm people because of this. Look, there's no way out. I would love for someone to sit here and tell me a way out of it, but there isn't any. Not only is there no political will, but it can't be stopped. The debt mechanism, we have hit the end of it here, this debt acquisition cycle. And the ramifications of this, when it corrects, again, is going to shake the core of the earth, unlike any event that has ever happened in history.
Well, Greg, you've certainly sobered our audience. One of our subtitles is to be aware and prepared, and any preparation first has to start with awareness. I even find myself, and I'm probably not alone in this, struggling with, you look around and you see what appears to be busy traffic on the highways. You see tons of semi-trucks and trains carrying freight around. You see bustling, activity in the economy, and people. It appears on the surface many of the activities appear to be of a bustling economy. There's oil profits coming out of North Dakota and whatever else, but it's important for people to hear the words, and you're not the first guest on here. We also had Andy Hoffman on saying that we've passed the point of no return. It's irreversible, that sort of thing. That's the first time I've heard, like in the last month here, multiple experts echoing that sentiment that we've passed a point of no return, or we've passed a critical mass. It's a couple of years ago, the sentiment was we've really got to get this debt under control. We've got to, stop doing what we're doing and turn around, or else. But the sentiment that I'm hearing now from experts on the markets and about policy such as yourself have shifted to that there's been we've passed the tipping point, and now we're on the sort of the preparation for collapse. Is there any sign that you see that wouldn't be the case, or are you firmly convinced that we've passed the tipping point and it's all about making preparations now?
Absolutely. Again, going back to what I've been saying, I can't envision a way out. There's no way out of it. In other words, let's just put it this way. The entire system is built upon the relentless acquisition of debt in perpetuity. It can never stop. The monster has to continually being fed, and more debt has to be added on top of an already insurmountable debt problem. The system itself is based on debt. It's not based upon wealth. It's a debt-based economic model. When we admit we cannot borrow cash anymore, we have a debt crisis. It's kind of an ironic paradigm in a way. Remember years ago we had the European debt crisis? Well, the European debt crisis occurred when they said, hey, we can't borrow anymore. Our credit card is maxed out. So what did they do to fix it? Did they cut their debt? No. They added more debt to it. It's incredible what they're doing, and to try to keep it propped up, and that's all they're doing. The economy that seems to be functioning okay, this is all because of, again, central banks that have gotten so desperate, turning the entire financial system upside down. But all you got to look at is a couple of metrics here, and you can see that it's all a farce. Just two alone right here in the United States. If you look at the money velocity, which is the rate at which cash is moving through an economy, we are at a near 4-decade low. You cannot have any kind of an economic recovery if cash is not moving through an economy. We also have a labor force participation rate at a multiple decade low. Cannot have an economic recovery without these two metrics moving up, and they're not moving up. But you will not hear this from the financial pundits on the mainstream. They will not echo these things. They'll cover it up and try to fluff it over with whatever, but those are the facts. Without those things, you have nothing.
Well, Greg, before we let you go, if anybody of our listeners are interested in finding out more of your work and more of your commentary, where can they find you on the web?
Easiest place would be my website, traderschoice.net.
Gregory Mannarino, thank you for joining us again here on Reluctant Preppers.
Glad to be here. Let's do it again soon.